Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally in the qualifier session after a 15-minute delay, but we are back live now for Current Racing League, and my name is Jamie Morris. Oops, let me turn that off. A bit of a mishap already, but we'll get going eventually. And today, joined with me is Kyle.
Good evening, everybody. First time doing commentary. This should be interesting. Good track for it.
Yeah, pleasure to have you in the commentary box, mate. Do you
Uh,
like this track? Would you be racing out there if you had the chance?
no, and that's exactly why I'm not racing. I mean, it's a good track. Don't get me wrong, but very very cursed luck around here.
Yeah, the walls come at you thick and fast around here, especially with the validations, not to mention that as well. So, a lot of risk here tonight to get the absolute best out of the car, and you need to use all the track possible as well. Getting close and personal with the walls, but obviously without scraping them, and also with traction zones as well, coming out of some corners where Antonio is as he overtakes, I think that was Reservoir in the Haas to get the
I
track
think so,
position.
yes.
Yeah, so Antonio there in the AlphaTauri had a few poor results recently, but hopefully he can get on top of that because we know he can recover. I think he's getting used to the wheel now. I think he's adapting more to the wheel, so hopefully we can see the best out of Antonio because obviously last season that's the most we saw of him, but he switched to the wheel, so let's see if there's an improvement there for Antonio. As you can see there, Kyle, do you do this method, braking and accelerating at the same time?
Yes. So the reason why you want to do that is a weaving. You can do weaving as well, but of course that's not as common on this game. The reason for that is you're going to build up the tire temps for the front tires mainly. The rears will naturally heat themselves, as always, as they have done in previous games. But yeah, it's very good for getting those tires above 90 degrees, which is ideal grip for a hot lap.
Cheers for that, Kyle. As we can see, Tony ran off turn number 2, went a bit wide, picked up some marbles on the exit, coming into turn number 3 and turn 4, slightly missed the turn 3 there, didn't take all the curb as he needed to, but anyways, you make our way down into turn number 6 now, using that curb, and also through turn 7, hitting the curb as well, get back, rotate the car very nicely without losing traction, as we make our way now under the bridge at turn number 8 and turn number 9. It's going to be quite difficult this corner sometimes, and catch a lot of
There's
people
a
out.
yellow.
There's people in that third sector slowing down, I think.
Yes, people setting up their laps.
As Antonio there coming through the middle sector with a 41.9. Reservoir is in close distance as well, so we can get a good reference there to see how Reservoir is doing coming out of the hairpin now at turn number 10, I believe that is, as we make our way down the straight with Antonio gaining a little bit of slipstream from the Alpha Red Bull there as I make our way into the final two corners. A bit hesitant on the entry for Antonio there, so this lap time won't be great as we've seen some few mistakes, but it's a 10.4 or 5 to be on the marker.
I think the most important thing with this track as well, Jamie, is to get that banker lap in. It's very easy to misjudge the track limits around here. I mean, the curbs in real life, they're big and they come at you. On this, in the game, they are very flat and it's quite easy to accidentally overstep it. So any sort of banker lap really is important.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one as well. Leo goes quickest by 3/10 ahead of Posh Evans, who puts his McLaren into P2. Those two, Reservoir and Posh Evans, only separated by 7,000, so that's close margins between the two. As Smalley Balls in the Alfa Romeo goes into P1 with a 10.0, then he's about 400s quicker than Leo in P2 then, so we're into the 10s, well we're almost into the 9s, so I expect in qualifying later on we'll get in the 9s for sure, as Nathan pops his Williams into P4 with a 10.3. He's 4,000s off Posh Evans as well, as we've got ILT Julian then making his way towards the line. Bompier 7th, Julian goes P1 with a 9.8, so the first man in the 9s as Posh Evans has left, as George Russell pops that Mercedes into P3 with a 10.0. Love to know who that is, by the way. I don't know if that's Relentless Nathan or not, to be honest. He's supposed to be the Mercedes.
No, it's that's the real George Russell, mate. That's him.
he's even got the helmet on as well for George Russell. I thought that was the AI at first, but it's actually a driver called G Russell 63 underscore. So somebody is a huge fan of George Russell there. As ILT Leroy then goes into P1. I'm gonna say I'm quite surprised at that. No disrespect to Leroy, of course, but I would love to see him at the top. and he's been racing here for quite a while, so it's nice to see him with a 9.5. He's done 2 laps on those set of soft compound tyres there. As Jeroen Visser, after 2 weeks absence, goes to the top of the timer sheets with a 9.4 in the Red Bull then. So these lap times coming thick and fast, and we're into the low 4s already then, with Jeroen leading the way ahead of IRT Leroy in P2. He took part in EML yesterday, and I think he qualified in P7 and then represented IRT and Antonio as well for IRT. So those 2 boys there trying to do IRT proud, and myself proud as well, as I'm in that team. But Kenny in the Red Bull has gone P7 for the second Red Bull there. He's also not had a great results either, unfortunately for him. I think, where is it, Chinese Grand Prix last time out? I don't recall him being in the top 10, and last time out in Japan, I think he lagged out as well. So Kenny there will be desperate to get some good results on the table for himself and the team.
Yes, luck is always a big part of racing. We're going to see some really fast times here as well. For a 9.4 as a banker from Jeroen and the 9.5 from Leroy, they are very, very fast times. And this track's only going to get faster as the session goes on, with, of course, it being rubbered up.
Yeah, indeed as well. I heard that there's rain on the way as well. I'm not sure in this qualifying session. In Tier 4 we had rain coming towards mid-qualifying, and that ruined some people's lap times because some people couldn't get a lap time on the board due to invalidations then. So these people, whoever set a lap time, will be hoping to get that lap time in if it does rain in qualifying. But if it rains in the race, then these guys are safe for the time being. So from P13s downwards, haven't set a lap time just yet. I'm on board with Cross Liam in the Mercedes then, and let's see what lap time he can put in that Mercedes. He makes his way towards the final 2 corners then, fully committed through. They're carrying a lot of speed as you need to. That is very impressive indeed from Liam as he makes his way towards the line. It's a 10.4 for the Mercedes, just outside the top 10.
Yeah, that's a nice lap. That's a nice lap. It goes back to our original point here, Jamie. These clouds, they look very dangerous, and that's how important it is to get a banker timing, because if that rain is to hit now within another minute or two, all these people that have yet to set a lap time are really going to be out of position here.
Yeah, indeed, as we got Humbalele representing FRL. And talk about FRL, unfortunately they have shut down after 4 years of running them. Me and Kyle used to be, well Kyle, I don't know if you still are, but we used to be in the Humble squad together representing for FRL Esports, a dearly missed team, and hopefully they can come back under a different name and progress from there. I think Ron was the leader of that team, and Kissizzle as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's a shame about FRL. I mean, I've spent 3 years in that team, and yeah, I mean, it's a weird feeling when something like that goes away. But of course, we move forward.
Yeah, I spent most of my racing career in FRL and started there too. It's a 10.0 from Humbalele then, as he puts the Alpine into P4. Then we've got majority of drivers in the pit lane going for their runs later on. So I want to see who's on lap time. QVR Gary. Here he is then in the AlphaTauri. Let's see what lap time he could do there. His highest qualifying position, I think, was back in Qatar when he qualified P7, if I'm not mistaken. He's making his way now towards the final 2 corners. Oh, that's an invalidation for sure. Took too much curve there and has invalidated that lap time. It would have been a 9.7, but obviously he gained a bit of lap time, cutting the corners there.
I'm on board with Chihuahua here. It's looking like a nicely committed lap as he comes into the final chicane.
There he is then in the Aston
Martin.
Martin.
He's got to navigate. Yeah, he's got to navigate the chicane very nicely. Yes.
Yeah, I'm on board with him now in the Aston Martin. So let's see what he could do. He's been on the podium, I think, 4 times this season, I'm not mistaken, without looking at the results. But he's been very close to winning races, but just not close enough as he makes his way now towards the line. It's going to be P3 for your good friend, Kyle.
Yeah, that's not a bad lap. First valid lap as a IRT driver. I'm sure he'll take that.
I'm pretty sure Stevan is, well, I don't know if he's watching because he's actually racing, but once he sees the results during qualifying, he'll be outstanding with those, because IRT, P2, 3 and 4, there's a lot of people joining IRT recently, and it's nice to see that IRT is getting a bit of recognition now, because it used to be a small team, but it's growing and growing consistently as well, so it's nice to see that growth in the team. George Russell in the Mercedes has invalidated his lap time there, as CPI Leo puts his car into P3, improved by a huge half a second as well. Found chunks at that time. The more these drivers go around, obviously the more confidence and belief they have in their cars, and the grip as well, they'll feel that on the circuit. So these lap times then really started to improve then, as you expect, as qualifying goes on. Smalley balls.
And Ken has spun. Exit turn 2.
Oh dear, that's a shame there for ILT Kenny. Valtteri Bottas did that, I think, back in 2019, going for his last flying lap there. He was quite quick as well, early parts in qualifying, but unfortunately threw it all away at turn number 2. And I think Sebastian Vettel went on to take pole. Look at Smalley balls, 5/10 up in this middle sector. He needs to find a little bit more time if he wants to try and take pole away from Jeroen Visser there. So can he find this time? Where can he do it? It's probably down at the final 2 corners if he didn't take it flat out or not. Well, if he didn't take it as he would have wanted to the final 2 corners on his previous lap. Let's see then, the markers have been taken out, by the way, so people who use in no line will be frustrated to see the marker boards have been destroyed. Smalley ball takes P4. Look at the lap times.
Nice lap. Yeah, everyone is separated by, just little over a tenth per second. This is very close stuff. From P2 to P4, less than a tenth that's just wow. And Jeroen goes fastest again with a 9.425.
That's just incredible. He only improved, by the way, by 8 thousandths as well, so not much, but it could be. Those small margins do count in qualifying and the race as well.
It's a small track, Jamie, so I mean, it's any sort of margin makes the difference around these small tracks. So tracks like we're talking this track, Montreal, Austria, Brazil, the smallest margins make the biggest difference.
Exactly, mate. We've got ILT Leroy then going for another flying lap on a brand new set of soft compound tyres then, as he makes his way now under the bridge through turn 8 and turn 9. Can be a very difficult corner indeed, especially on the exit. They're very easy to lose the car. Might see some people do that in the race. He's only a few hundreds up in that middle sector, so can he find any more time in this last sector? It's nice to see ILT Leroy up into P2 there, because obviously this season he's not had the greatest qualifying or races either, so he really needs that boost, because I believe he's got it in him to do so. Being friends with him for quite a long time, he's got a car in the way. Hopefully get in the pit lane. No, he doesn't. So, oh no!
Yeah, been distracted there by the Alpha Tauri.
It's so easy to get distracted. Was that QVR Gary? Yes, it was. Then he makes his way now on his flying lap in turn 1 and turn number 2. Then so Leroy will be absolutely fuming. All that hard work he's done has just gone down the drain in the final 2 corners, and that is so frustrating when you think you've done a really good lap time and the final 2 corners just take it away. The Wall of Champions and the curbs as well. 19.3 for QVR Gary there in the first sector. Gary, did he have a choice really? He had to pin it really, because Leroy was coming at a rate of knots, but could he go out of the way before?
Of course, it's always annoying as well when Gary. It's really tricky when you're so focused on your outlap and you're coming right towards the end of the lap. I can see he definitely picked up towards the end there to try and make sure that he was not going to impede Leroy, but it's so tricky when you're so focused on the tyres and whatnot, and then you see at the last moment that you've got a car coming so fast at you. It's not easy.
But in that situation,
Leroy won't be happy.
Yeah, pretty sure we're both. Oh, QVR Gary, I think. Oh, he's crashed in the wall. But I think this is the second time in a row QVR Gary has invalidated through the final corner there. So, sweet crown as well. Not our championship leader anymore, because Nathan has taken away. Oh, Walter spun coming out of turn number 4 then. So, out the Sebastian Vettel chicane, as we now formerly known it as back in 2019, has spun coming out of there. And Walter then, he's really struggling. He started last place, I think, back at the Chinese Grand Prix, made his way through, and I don't think he got on the podium. No, he didn't. He finished down in P9 after the safety car came at the wrong time. George Russell has put his Mercedes into P2 with a 9.5, only a thousandth separating George Russell and ILT Leroy. This is incredible, Kyle.
Yeah, this is very exciting to watch as a first commentator, like commentary. I mean, when you're doing the session, the pressure that you would have from seeing those gaps is going to be quite big. I mean, the person who's probably not going to feel the most pressure right now is Jeroen. I mean, he's got nearly a tenth clear, and he's got another run as well to do. But these gaps are very close. It could be anyone's game here.
Indeed, only if 1 or 2 tens can boost up the order. Antonio is making his way now into the first corner we go, taking it very nicely on the entry there into turn number 2. Slow it all down then. He spun the car in turn 2.
It's the same as Ken, yes. This is probably, turn 2 is probably the hardest corner on this track. People underestimate it. The amount of low grip, low traction you have on the exit of the corner is, it's very hard to judge when you can get full on the throttle.
Yeah,
But, yeah, very easy mistake to make.
Luckily, Antonio's only done it in the second corner, so he's still got enough fuel. Sweet cars were tied. That's 3 drivers. P2 in the championship. That's crucial because I don't know if George Russell is Nathan, but Sweet usually is in the Mercedes, and I think Nathan likes George Russell as well. I think he's a fan of him. But Sweet Crown, Isa Kush, and Jules Bream as well. He finished on the podium last time out at the Shanghai Grand Prix. But he started down in last place along with Isa Kush, who is known to retire in qualifying. He wants to pick up the most qualifying bans to try and achieve something out of winning. And Sweet Crown also has retired as well. I'm not quite sure if Sweet Crown is doing this on purpose or not, because the last few races he's just, well, been dominant. Well, not dominant, but just consistent as well. And yeah, but this time round, the last 2 races, I don't know if he's struggling or not. I don't want to say he's struggling because I don't think he is. But Antonio then making his way around the final corner to go for it for a second consecutive time. This is his potential flying lap, depending if the tyres can hold on or he's got enough fuel in the car. Headed into turn number 2. Then this is where he mistake last time. Has he rectified it? Yes, you can see there he's steadily.
Very nice for that.
Yeah, he's steadily increasing the throttle application, coming into turn number 3 now, and oh no, he's invalidated.
Oh, that's such a shame for Tony. That's such a shame. It's one of the hardest tracks to set a lap. That's for sure.
I've seen in a few invalidations. IRT Julian, by the way, out of turn number 7, has had a big snap of oversteer, had to bail out in his lap. Nathan has invalidated that lap time. I'm on board with, who shall I go on board with, Leroy or Chihuahua? Well, Leroy's invalidated too, so let's go on board with Chihuahua to see what happens. Majority of drivers on their lap time. Chihuahua chucking the car in turn 3 and turn 4, using all the track and get away with as we make our way now into turn number 6 and turn 7. A few hundreds up in that first set, has not taken the corner, or not taking the curbs he would have wanted to rotate the car coming out of turn 6 now. So let's see if that lost him any time as we make our way now under the bridge at turn number 8. Let's see how he takes it. You can see the car snapped there, but he saved the snap, counter steered it and saved it. Let's see what he does in this middle sector. A few hundreds up there, so he hasn't lost any time maybe, but not gained it after that snap. Turn number 10, rotates the car very nicely. Yeah, that Red Bull ahead of him, I don't know who it is. Looks like everybody's on their lap, by the way, so if that Red Bull slows down, Chihuahua might suffer a bit with that. But a nice slipstream ahead of us then as we make our way down into the final 2 corners. I'm not quite sure if that's Shiru Visser. Qualifying has came to a close then. This is the laps that has to count now. Red Bull coming across the line, stays in P13. Chihuahua stays in P6 there. We've got more across the line now. Let's see who's out there. Is that Yivu Visser who's slowed down?
Smalley Balls has crashed.
Where's that?
The second chicane into Sector 1, right before the end of the lap. He's just lost it on the exit. We're way too early on the power. It's wow. This is qualifying is something else, Jamie.
It is, mate. I've seen that on the map now as Leo crossed the line to go up into P4. In fact, P2. I'm not quite sure who did that, but here comes George Russell then as he makes his way towards the line. Can George take pole? Yes, he can. It's a 9.3 from the Mercedes driver who takes pole ahead of Javoon Visser there. IRT Leroy still improving, coming towards the final 2 corners. He hits the wall on the exit, so that definitely cost him a lot of time. He took a lot of speed in those final 2 corners. He still improves. It's a 9.4. What could he have done if he didn't hit the wall there? We'll never know, but it's P4 for him. And QVR Gary finally gets a good lap on the board. It's P5 in the AlphaTauri. Smalley Balls in P6. Both Aston Martins of Chihuahua and Julian in P7 and P8. Resify P9 ahead of Nathan JB. Posh Evans in P11 ahead of Humber Lele. And qualifying has came to a close. And let's see if rain is imminent then on the way towards the circuit. And the last time we had rain around here in the race, I actually can't remember. Was it 2011? I actually can't remember before that.
Yeah, I think that is probably that sounds about right to me, Jamie. I mean, this track is very much known for its mixed conditions in real life and as well as league races. I think majority of the league races I've done around here have gone either wet to dry or dry to wet, or you know, wet, dry, wet. This track is something else for that, and I think we're in for a show here.
Hopefully as well, the times between the top three under a tenth as well, with Leroy in P4 separated only a few hundreds from his Irish compatriot in P5, the Scotsman of smaller balls in P6, and the Brit of Chihuahua in P7 with another Dutchman in P8. But what an incredible qualifying then, with George Russell putting that car on pole position ahead of the Red Bull versus Red Bull. Then let's see who comes out top here in Canada, in North America at Montreal. And it's nice and sunny as well, so I'm not quite sure if Nathan was bluffing there or not, but you never know. I never know, rain could be on the way.
Yes, we've seen it go from dry to like completely clear to completely wet in the space of a few minutes, so anything could happen here.
It could then. I don't think there's no formation lap due to the glitch. I don't think we have time to try and test the formation lap. Well, I haven't anyway, so these drivers might have a bit of experience, but I can't wait to see what happens down at turn number 1. Some people like to go around the outside. It's turn 1 and turn 2. Could we see second place do that? I think, who did it back then? I can't actually quite remember now. Not quite sure if Sebastian Vettel did it on Lewis Hamilton. In fact, it was 2013 when Vettel started third, jumped both Mercedes and got into P1, but obviously Hamilton went on to win the race after, well, the car was much better anyway. But anyways, in 2019,
I think that was 2016 or 2017 actually. Yeah, but either way, yeah, Vettel got a very good start from P3. He can get a good start and take the lead in the first corner and keep the advantage. But on this game, being first is not always what you want, because of how powerful DRS and the slipstream is.
Vettel hasn't won it since 2018, as here we are, then the lights are on for the drivers, then 5 lights, and we are underway for the Canadian Grand Prix. Then let's see who gets a better start off the line. Looks like George Russell's got a decent start then with Leo pressure Giroud. There's a bit of contact in the first corner. The AlphaTauri goes sideways off the track there. The rear locking up, unfortunately. But look at this. We've got the Leo going side by side. Then as we head down, it's turn number 3. Leo stays in front of Leroy there as we head down now into the chicane we go. The Haas getting off the track there, out of shape. He's under huge pressure from the other Alpine and Nathan then as we make our way into turn 6 and turn 7. You can see people, both Aston Martins were sliding through the corner there. The rears were just locking up. That's going to be a huge issue on this game with the rears locking up. And look at that, we've got an Alpine on the soft compound tyres. That's Humber getting past Nathan then up into P8 there. So Humber is opted to go for the soft compound tyres. That could tell us, well, I don't know about his strategy calls. Unless it's going to rain early in the race, we'll never know. In fact, we've got yellow flags down at the first middle sector. We've got a Ferrari who's beached there. That's Bompier who's gone for a spin.
And yes, I can see that. That's a shame. He's missing an end plate as well on his front wing, I think. So some contact has happened there, Jamie.
Yeah, indeed, and Humber-Lele's got past the hard runner of Julian, and that's critical for him to get past these hard runners. Don't want to get stuck behind him, especially being on the soft compound tyres. You can see there, Humber-Lele actually cut the corner coming out of the final corner there, so won't pay him any dividends later on towards the race. Leroy up at the wall. He's actually going side by side now with Leo as we make our way into turn number 2. Tried up the inside, but the inside converted to the outside, and that didn't help Leroy whatsoever, especially with Leo on the medium compound tyres. Yellow flags further down with Bompier there coming out of the pit lane. He gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in it, so he hasn't came out yet.
He might be retiring. Yes, he's retired in the pits. That is a shame.
Strong race at the Qatar Grand Prix last time out, but unfortunately it's gone downhill out at the Canadian Grand Prix on the first lap. So our first retirement there is Bompier. Want to keep an eye on that guys who starts in last place. Wow, sweet crown. He's made up 9 places off the start of this race already. He did this in China. How on earth he makes these starts, I have no idea. But he's up into P8. He's on the medium compound tyres. Passed a lot of drivers already at the opening lap. This is such a tight track to get past as well. So I'm not quite sure how he's managed to do that. But nevertheless, he's up into P8 then. Trying to make a recovery drive after suffering in qualifying. And let's see what he could do from there with Humber Lane on the soft compound tyres. And the fight might go down between these two because they're really close. Heading out the final corner. DRS will be enabled this lap there. So George Russell will be under pressure from Jeroen Reza.
Tony picks up a 3-second time penalty due to track limits. This is it's where it's all going to start coming into play now with the DRS. And Gary also picks up a 3-second time penalty.
You'll see a lot of that in this race. 3-second penalties being picked up like we saw at the Qatar Grand Prix. I think Reservoir is also another driver who's got caught out by turn number 4 there. Cut to the track ever so slightly. Might cost himself a warning, so can't afford to do it more than twice. It's easier said, much easier said than done around here in Canada and this could be crucial towards the end as well. Let's see which driver picks up the least penalties, because if that happens and the late safety car appears on the track, like in Qatar, some people who haven't got a penalty might be catching up, pulling up the order just in case they're further down. Antonio's retired.
Chapelele goes for Chapelele makes a move into the final hairpin on his former teammate Chihuahua, and we got a virtual safety car.
And I think that's caused by Antonio.
By Tony, yes. That is a shame for Tony, as you mentioned about his bad luck. It just seems to continue, which is, unfortunately, that is racing. It does happen.
And crucially, Humbalele made that move before the virtual safety car came out then. So up into P6 then on those soft compound tyres, completely going for a different strategy call to the rest of them. So let's see how that pays out for him. A short stint on the softs, maybe going towards the hards on the end, we'll never know. But Leo in P3 was poised to make a move on Jeroen. What could have happened at turn number 1 if that virtual safety car didn't come out then? So Jeroen lives to fight another day. Bearing in mind though, he's got DRS on the back of George Russell, keeping him protected from Leo behind. Leroy there still in P4 by the way, the great position on those hard compound tyres, keeping attached with this DRS train, crucially for him because it's very easy to get detached from this train, especially the difficulty of this track. 3 DRS zones around here to keep you intact with everybody, and you know how hard it is, don't you, Car, to be in a DRS train to overtake people.
Yes, but Leo will be very keen to make up the positions here with the tyre compound that he has chose to start with. Of course, he's going to have to be very aggressive to make this strategy work.
And look at that, Jeroen started coming out of turn number 10 then. Leo can't afford to be stuck behind these guys any longer than he wants to. He's got the ERS in his disposal, he's got the medium compound tyres fitted to that on that Alpine there. Look at Jeroen Visser, it's going to get tantalisingly close, and luckily they are back tyres, like a cat and mouse games like we saw.
Separated by centimetres.
Indeed,
wow.
Mate. Leo's got a decent exit, but Jeroen's using the ERS to try and stay ahead. He's going for it, it's turn 1. Jeroen's going around the outside of George Russell, as Leo might fancy a chance up the inside, but George still sticks around the outside, gets a decent exit as we head our way down into turn number 3, but George backs out of it. Don't want to go side by side through there and lose a heck of a lot of time, and it could end in contact too.
This is what you like to see. This is what you like to see. This is good, fair racing, clean racing.
This is what we saw at the Japanese Grand Prix when we saw 3rd place trying to make a challenge, because 3rd place in the worst of it at the DRS train, he wants to put pressure on 2nd to try and force them into a lead and put them in an uncomfortable position like Jeroen has done. He had to go for it, otherwise Leo was coming at him, and Leo there, he was in that fight at the Japanese Grand Prix, he took pole in Japan, did Leo. Now he's going side by side, heading his turn number 10. How hard will George fight this? Will he let him go? I'm not quite sure if he will or not, because he don't want to lose contact with Jeroen. But Sweet Crown, it's up into P7, but they're coming side by side at the hairpin now, wheel to wheel, and let's see who makes it out on top with DRS enabled for both cars. Now look at this, the top 3 then. Look at Leroy coming through as well. He might take advantage of Leo as he goes up the inside. Not a place you want to fight whatsoever.
Oh.
George Russell gets out of shape. Leroy overtakes him. Up into P2 goes Leroy, then George Russell. Oh, there's a big crash.
Oh.
Who was that? That's Humbalele who's in the wall.
That's Humbalele out the race.
Wow.
I can't even say I knew what happened there. Just all happened so fast. But unfortunately, that has resulted in Humbalele out of the race after a very nice start as well.
Yeah, indeed, on those soft compound tyres. But now the safety cars came out, I'm going to go to the toilet because I don't have the chance to.
No, of course, of course. Okay, so with this safety car out now, what are people going to do with their strategies? So we've got Sweet Crown and Leo and Julbream, Isa and Luke, all on the mediums. Now, if they were to pit for the hard tyres would and could go to the end of the race. But would they want to risk that with a potential safety car happening later on in the race and then them having to possibly pit again due to the tyre disadvantage that they'd have? This is where it's all gonna see. We're gonna see what happens here. But yeah, the start of that race was very interesting to say the least. We've had 3 retirements from this race of Humbalele, Antonio, and Fupier. It's, overall, at the front, it's been very clean racing, very fair racing. But we'll have to have a look into what happened there. causing the retirement, as Rezify, Gary, Cross Liam, Izza, and Luke all come into the pits. Now they're going to be, yep, they're all trying different strategies here with the tyres. Rezify goes on to the mediums, Gary on the softs, Liam on the softs, Izza on the mediums, and Luke on the mediums. Now they're going to have to make this strategy work. Their tyres are going to be 6 laps fresher than the guys in front. And 6 laps fresher tyres on this game is a big advantage. We're talking maybe just under a second, just over a second a lap tyre advantage. So they're going to be very fast on this safety car restart.
Yeah, I've seen a few people pit now. I've just came back on the screen. Leo's into P6. How did that happen? No, it don't matter. I was thinking about the wrong driver. But
That's all right.
What a move there from ILT Leroy. Leo's down in P6 because he got out of shape, trying to avoid George Russell in P3. George outbroke himself and Leroy was able to go around the outside just like that and claim P2. So great moves from ILT Leroy. He actually took 2 for 1 because he was side by side with Leo, and then he overtook George around the outside. George just misjudged his braking zone and went wide, and Leo there was just it's just a roadblock for him ahead of him. He couldn't get past either way, so he lost out dramatically. Sweet Crown's up into P5. I'm still quite sure how Sweet Crown got past him.
Yeah, I can't say I would know how that happened. I mean, so much happened all at one time there. It's very hard, very difficult to keep up with everything. But yeah, I mean, that start was not so great from Leroy as of lap 1. But you know what? He's got himself into a very nice position here. This is the ideal position you'd want to be in for this part of the race, because you don't want to be leading because you are pretty vulnerable to the cars behind, who will have ERS, slipstream, and DRS. That's unfortunately just the case on this game. Past games, leading, it's fine as long as you have the pace advantage. Even if you have the pace advantage on this game, cars can stick with you. But so Leroy, as of right now, is in the prime position, but don't count out all the other drivers behind him, because I know some very quick drivers here, especially George Russell. He took pole in quali. Smalley Balls, I've raced with him in F5. I know he's very fast, and we've got Sweet Crown and Leo on the medium tyres, and they're going to be keen to make this strategy work, Jamie.
Yeah, indeed. Sweet Crown's made a lot of positions from starting in P17, I believe it was. I'm looking back at that, not the incident, but I'm looking back at that battle. Leroy got past Leo, then George outbroke himself trying to avoid Jeroen. Went deep, Leroy went around the outside. George had to cut the corner there because there's not enough space for them both to go side by side, so it might have a warning to his name. Then obviously Leo was blocked by that. Leo went sideways, cut out the corner, allowed Humbalele through, but actually Humbalele actually crashed out of that one. Sweet Crown took advantage of Leo, so actually Humbalele was in P6 before that incident happened, so we're quite sure if those guys went 3 wide and that caused the crash. But the safety car is in then, and looks like Smalley Balls all over the back of George Russell then. It might have caught him napping just a bit. Smalley Balls did a great job in P4. Sahilu's got a 5-second time penalty for a severe incident. Further back, we've got Sweet Crown making a move on Smalley Balls. Oh, he did outbreak himself. He almost hit the back of G Russell there, and he make himself on the trap. That's a 5-second time penalty. That's a shame there, because you want to avoid the guards as well, but the game thinks you're speeding, so it gives you a 5-second time penalty. He might have that removed because he did slow down. I was on board with him.
Something happened at the back there. Well, towards the middle of the pack there, Jamie. Chihuahua is now dropped down to P14. I'm pretty sure he was in P6 with Julian on that safety car restart, and we saw him get a 5-second time penalty due to incident with Cross Liam, who's now come into the pits, out the pits.
Well, I'm not quite sure.
I think there's been some contact there, yeah.
Must have been made. He may have had body damage, I'm not quite sure. But QVR Gary on those soft compound tyres also got into the soft compound tyres as well. So that's quite interesting strategy call from Gary there. Up the inside now of turn 10 against ILT Kenny. Then ILT Kenny trying to stick with him in the AlphaTauri, but there's no match with those soft compound tyres and has to pay out for the time being then. So Gary now on those soft compound tyres will be probably the quickest man on the track for a short period before those soft starts come to an end. So it's very important for him to make some moves now on those soft compound tyres points to get himself inside the top 10. We've got Posh Evans in P9. Last time we had a race around Canada, Posh Evans got on the podium in P3. It was him, Nathan and Sweet Crown fighting for P1, P2 and P3. Isa Kush is ahead of Chihuahua now. Chihuahua is dropping places. He's not even going in the pit lane then, so must have damage somewhere on that car. Front wing not evident, but maybe side pod damage, who knows.
It's possible. I mean, we saw Liam come into the pits, possibly for a front wing change. So if he's hit the back of Chihuahua, that could be rear wing damage here, Jamie.
Oh, it's a shame there if that's the case, because he looks like he's oversteering all over the place. That could indicate why, or that could indicate that he has damage on the rear of that front wing then. So it's a shame there for ILT. Oh, he almost, yeah, that's definitely
yes, I think he has rear wing damage there. Yeah, that is a shame. After a potential, well, he's third in the championship as of right now, so this is not going to look, well, not going to be ideal for him in the championship. I know QVR Nathan, who is leading the championship, is also not racing, so it's not going to hurt as much as what it was if he was racing, if that makes sense.
I don't actually know if George Russell is QVR Nathan, so I'm going to have to find that out myself.
Do you know what? That could actually be possible. They both race in the Mercedes, don't they? So
I think Nathan is a fan of George Russell as well, so that could explain why he's called George, or G Russell. So someone needs to clarify that.
Possible.
Well, I was gonna talk about something, but I actually can't remember now what I was gonna say. So I'll try and remember what I was gonna say. But as you can see, Cross Liam sets the fastest lap as he's in clear air with nobody around him, and he's also lost a lot of time due to that front wing change. As we suspect, he hit the back of Chihuahua, and we suspect Chihuahua's got rear wing damage as well. Rectified backs out of it in turn number 8, knowing there wasn't enough space to go down the inside. There was, but you don't want to go side by side. As QVR Gary now takes advantage of the Haas up the inside.
Oh dear! And he's spun, Jamie. He's spun. Reservoir is spun. He got a wheel up on the grass, and of course, you put a wheel on the grass, you can't expect the car to stick under braking. It's always going to go wrong.
And Posh Evans is side by side.
Himself. Yep.
Posh Evans is side by side. He's got ahead. He was stressing that move on the last lap against Nathan. Nathan slightly taps the wall, coming out the wall of champions there with dual beam all over the back now of the Williams, but he taps the back of himself and stays in P10 then. Both McLarens pressurising the Williams. What I was going to say, I actually can't remember now, so it's gone on my head completely.
Yeah, as I was saying about reservoir spin, once you get a wheel on the grass, the car is not going to stick under braking. It's I could see that he just outbroke himself, and he looked like he was trying to avoid the cars that were ahead as he was defending his position from the car behind, and yeah, that's really unfortunate for him.
Oh, Chihuahua had a great run this season, scoring quite a lot of podiums out of anybody this season, but unfortunately in Canada has gone downhill, so he'll be looking to come back stronger in the next race, because there's no way you can get your rear wing changed at all, so he'll be suffering with that throughout the whole race. The most he could do is try and stay in this race and gain from people's misfortunes, such as safety cars, tyre penalties as well. He's in that DRS train from like P15 all the way to first, so it's a big DRS train right along everybody. And look at Leroy then. Leroy pulls to the right hand side, and he's he really hits the back of him. He almost spins, and he might be under pressure now from George Russell, and he is. He goes to the inside then, and Russell is up into P2 ahead of Jeroen Visser then. So what a change there. And Jeroen is really struggling too. Look at that.
Yeah, it looks like these. Wow, I can't even say I saw what happened to Jeroen there. What was it, under the braking, or was it?
Well, I think because Jeroen's been leading so long, he's got his own preference to braking. So maybe he didn't really adapt to Leroy's braking.
Yes, braking in the dirty air as well. Possibly that could do it. But yeah, no, that was a nice move from Leroy. Now, what these top three are going to want to do here is work together, as of course they're all driving the same strategy. So ideally, now George Russell will want to be going for the move on Leroy here, and then Leroy taking the place back on the next lap, as it defends the positions from the cars behind. But those hard tyres will start to be better than the medium tyres coming into this stage of the race.
Got quite a few battles going on here. I think they want to... Oh, they keep getting so close to the back of each other. I think they're going to spin each other out, but they just keep it on the track this time round. And Nathan was under huge pressure there. I think he's been overtaken now by Isak Kush. So we might see a few moves into turn number 1 we go. Posh Evans is threatening out the Alfa Romeo smally balls, but can't quite make a move on that occasion. So there's one big DRS train with QVR Gary almost getting involved as well on those soft compound tyres. He's broke up the DRS train due to pressurising other people around him, but now he's inside it himself then in P9. But yeah, what you're saying is these guys will be trading DRS. They don't want to be fighting too much and just trade DRS like they did in Japan. Just swap around now and then and take turns with the DRS then, and allow them to pull away even more, but the helping hand of that DRS down the straight, just dragging each other. But Jeroen, it's gone deep again. Oh, he picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's really struggling this, Jeroen.
Yeah, that was a weird one there. It looked like he just completely misjudged the braking and just went straight on. But yeah, at this stage in the race now, you want, well, in a few laps time, maybe 3 to 4 laps away, you're going to want to be thinking about the pit stops. Of course, it's a 35 lap race. You usually pit at the halfway point or just over half as the tyres will start to wear, and George Russell makes the move on Leroy. You can see there.
That's all that. Nice move there from George to be back up into P1 as Sweet Crown puts pressure on Jeroen. Then Sweet Crown started down, I believe, in P17. Now up into P4 with an incredible start, gaining 9 places. Up into P4, pressurising the top 3 like he did at the Chinese Grand Prix. But strategy didn't pay in his favours because I think he switched over to the medium compound tyres. Then the safety car came out. I think Jeroen has just tapped the wall coming out of turn number 4. They just scraped it, as we've seen many people do before in the past. In the background, I can see that Posh Evans is pressurising the Alfa Romeo. I mean, yeah, the Alfa Romeo ahead of him and keeping the other Alfa Romeo behind. There's a spin. Is that Nathan?
And Nathan has spun. Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, Isak Kush now is ahead of Luke. He puts that Haas into P9. Another driver that disqualified themselves in last place, and now he's up into P9. Not as many positions as Nate. Oh, look at Isak Kush. That's a late move because he outbroke himself, and he tags the McLaren too for good measure. And there's a bit of lag involved as well, all over the place on the road, but thankfully not in a full spin to ruin his race, but definitely cost him on the straight now, as Isak Kush might be under pressure from Luke right behind, but they're all in that DRS train, then they should be under pressure that much. But Leroy then might be coming back on George Russell coming out the final corner, and Jeroen's been overtaken by Sweet Crown then, so Jeroen there under huge pressure.
Yeah, he's really struggling at this stage in the race. I'm not too sure if he maybe has damage or whether there's some other issue that we don't know about. That's 3 cars he's been overtaken by now, and he's been overtaken by Sweet Crown, who's at this stage in the race on the slower tyre than Jeroen.
Oh, look at this, Kyle. It started raining, mate, and this could possibly explain why QVR Gary...
I was about to say, these clouds are looking very dark, and it can always change in the click of a finger. The rain has hit here at Montreal.
If I remember correctly, not last season, the season before, we had rain on the way, and I think CRL Strauss took the lead of the race because he was one of the first people to be pit on the insides. I can't exactly remember how that race went down. I think Nathan stayed out there too long on the set of dry tyres, where others went on the intermediates then. So yeah, this could be another case of pissing at the right time. Bearing in mind though, a safety car did come into play when some people started to struggle with the wet conditions. So let's see if these drivers can stay on the track, as Leroy has huge overspeed, but they won't pit this lap because the rain just hit. But look at some people, they're in the pit lane. That's Jeroen, and that's Leo.
Leroy had a massive snap coming out of the chicane there, and he's dropped. George Russell and Sweet Crown are both overtaken Leroy. He did very well there to keep that out of the wall, of course, as these conditions continue to worsen.
You've got to pit at the right time. It's not like in real life where it might take a little bit of time to, for the rain to impact the circuit.
People are boxing now for the Inters.
And
Jeroen has made the early call as well, one of the lead drivers of this race.
Be on the right tyres at the right time, and let's see who's just done that. DRS is still enabled, by the way, so that could be the marker there to indicate that the dry tyres are still the best way to go for the time being. Maybe Wilder, those medium compound tyres could be better than the hards now in terms of tyre temperature, because the hards can lose a lot of temperature during the damp conditions. QVR Gary should be the quickest out there. He's on 10 lap old softs anyway, but still, it could help him. He's putting cars under huge pressure with the Alfa Romeo just ahead of him. And let's see if any of the top three decides to go to pit lane. Sweet Crown from last place, or P17, takes the lead of the race, but will he dive in the pit lane? No, he does not. But Leroy does. Into the pit lane he goes then. Very careful. Oh, there was contact at the final corner. I'm not quite sure who was that. That's Isa Kush, but sideways to the final corner. But looks like the track is starting to worsen now. So has the top two left it out there for too long, I wonder? What do you think, Kyle?
I mean, it's at this stage of the race, it's so hard to say. We're only going to find out the second they come into the pits. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, with the rain now, these tyres they're driving on, they're still going to hold up. But you can see now they're not exactly struggling for grip too much. They're still able to keep on track because of the tyre temperature that they have. But yeah, this can all change in the flick of a finger. Driving around on a wet track with slick tyres is very tricky.
What I find interesting now, Leroy's just came out of the pit lane and Leo's right there. He pitted a lap before Leroy, and I dare say the track was at the crossover point as well. Well, just towards the drier part. So Leo there is still a DRS range, as the DRS is still been enabled then. So let's see who's made the right choice. Has Leroy pitted at the right time there? Has the top two left it out a bit too long? Who knows? We'll see then. They've definitely got to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap. This track looks to be worse and worse, and they do. Then the top two are in the pit lane as, look at that, the Haas of Isa Kush just overtaking Smalley Balls before the line. I got this car slowed down, and Luke, for some reason, is still out there on those mediums.
Yeah, it looks like Sweet Crown is. This is looking very close here, Jamie, between George Russell and Sweet Crown. Oh, who has gone through there? That is Leo. Leo is. Wait.
Yeah, Leo's overtaking Leroy on track.
The positions are ever changing. I have no idea who's where.
Well actually, Russell's lost 2 places.
Yeah, it looks like he's lost 2 places. Leo is in P2 of this race.
Bearing in mind though,
that is, like you said, Jamie, pitting at the right time. The right moment, right time.
It definitely looks like it's intermediate conditions, but the DRS is still enabled. But yeah, Russell was only about 8 tenths behind Sweet Crown. Look at that, he's lost 2 places, and now Leroy is struggling under pressure then as G. Russell is coming at him. Under the brakes we go into turn number 10.
Wow.
Russell has the inside line. That was so close to contact there with the Williams, and he slowed the car just enough to make sure he didn't hit the back of that Williams. As Leroy then in this second phase of the race looks like he's struggling now on those intermediates, as he had the race pace earlier in the dry then. So all hands has changed as Isaac Kush then moves himself up into P6 ahead of ILT Julian. Haven't really mentioned him in this race, but he's doing a great job in the Aston Martin in P7 then. And he's just lost the place there towards Isa Kush, who looks like he's on a charge from the back of the field as well. So Sweet Khan from P17 up into P1. I had no thoughts about Sweet Khan winning this race at all, or having the chance, because I thought it would be very difficult from the back of the grid, especially here in Canada, to make up all the positions as he did to be in P1 right now.
Yeah, it's been an incredible drive so far from Sweet Crown. I mean, to go from where he was to the position he's in now, it's absolutely insane, especially considering how high the level racing is here as well. It's very impressive. DRS has been disabled now.
It's unfortunate for Jeroen Visser. He was one of the first pit to end the Inters, but bearing in mind though, so was Leo with 3 lap forward Inters, so I'm not quite sure if Jeroen's overall pace has disappeared, because he was really struggling even before the rain impacted the circuit.
Yes.
He really was struggling on those hard compound tyres. He was squirming all over the place at the exits. And looks like Leo is under pressure from George then, as George has the straight line speed on the Williams and overtakes him up into P2 then. So the fight might be still on between George and Sweet Crown. I can't wait for the podium interviews, because if that is Nathan, then I'm going to be so shocked.
Yeah, no, the same as well, Jamie. But as this track continues to, it's going to stay wet. We're going to see a lot less of these overtakes on the main straight. A prime overtaking area in these wet conditions is going to be that final hairpin. Providing, of course, you're close enough, it is a very good place to make a move and keep the move, because it is a lot easier to keep and gain ERS in the wet. So a lot of people are going to be using down the main straight. You're not going to keep that. You're not going to have as much an advantage as you would in the dry, making those moves on the main, well, down the main back straight.
It looks like Russell is all... We've got a spinner. That's a Hassan Reservoir who's gone for a spin. But Russell is all over the back of Sweet Crown. It looks like this man has got a lot of confidence to go side by side in the rain as they double up the brakes into the hairpin. Has Russell got a decent exit there on the hairpin to try and get past Sweet Crown? Sweet Crown's got the launch, got the corner due to Russell being in dirty air. But has he got enough straight line speed in that Mercedes to try and overtake the Ferrari here? No, he hasn't. He's too far back. I think he might be saving the ERS now. But the speed he had in the corners against Sweet Crown was incredible, so that might help him benefit a lot in the corners, but on the straights might not do so. So Sweet Crown might have to do this defense on the straight.
Yeah, and Jeroen has also had a spin in the second sector, so his race has gone from bad to worse, unfortunately for him. I mean, it was looking so great, but whatever issue he's been managing right now, and now the spin, of course, this has just turned into a nightmare race for Jeroen. And Julbream has also retired.
I think he had contact with Smalley Balls, because I saw him spinning off the track, and he's called it a day in the pit lane then, so that's him out of the race. Kenny and Crossley are still in this race despite their issues then, so massive respect for those guys down there to be still in this race. Plenty of opportunities still to be gained now the wet conditions have impacted the circuit, making the... Oh, Kenny's retired in the pit lane too, just talking about him. He's left in rage.
Yeah. Can see that. That's a shame. I mean, there's so many promising races today, and yeah, it's the hardest of races. These mixed conditions. I completely understand why he retired. It's especially when you get frustrated as well. It's so difficult to continue. But yeah, that's a shame for Kenny.
Russell is up into P1, but has Sweet Crown got a decent exit now on the back of the Mercedes as we make our way on the straight? Sweet Crown's got more ERS. Will he make a move? George goes to the inside and defends, and Sweet Crown is kept at bay for the time being. But this is going to be a great fight between these two, like we saw every single race this season. If Russell is Nathan, the man I think it is, we've seen these two have some great battles.
At this point, Jamie, I think it is, yes. But yeah, it looked like he was parking the bus perfectly there into turn one. I mean, these drivers are very experienced. They know how to race each other and how to race each other fairly and keep it right on the limit as well, and not to lose too much time to the cars behind.
Austria, Japan, Qatar, Australia, all those races, including these two, have been absolutely phenomenal. Not quite in Qatar, as Sweet Crown decided to go for... No, not in China, sorry. As Sweet Crown decided to start in last place. So Red Bull has spun. Is that Jeroen? His race has gone bad to worse ever since the rain came. A virtual safety car has been deployed then, so we'll stop any overtaking opportunities now on the straight, as Sweet Crown will probably want to set himself up on the straight to overtake it, but not on this occasion, not anymore.
Reservoir also has lost a wing there, so maybe some contact with... Jeroen possibly, or a mistake of his own. We saw Jeroen had spun, and Reservoir has also lost his front wing, so it's hard to say what happened there.
Also want to mention Isak Kush as well in P4 from start to the back of the field. He's also making his way up through the field too, so easy on course for a podium. But the problem is he has got a 3-second time penalty, I think it is. Let's have a look what the penalty. Yeah, it's a 3-seconder for Isak Kush, so can be quite difficult to be on the podium, especially with these three in close contention with each other. So Isak Kush there will be hoping that one of those drivers ahead will pick up a 3-second time penalty. RT Leroy was leading the race ever since it's been changing in the dry conditions, but Leroy has led some of this race, but unfortunately he's in P5 then, so the wet conditions proven to be not his strongest point so far. But the good news is he's got some pace in the Alpine, and the first time really Leroy shows some... Oh, Leroy, what are you doing?
Oh no,
come on Leroy, you had to go and get yourself a draft penalty.
Oh, that is such a shame. It was looking so great for Leroy, but something I'm guilty of myself on multiple occasions. It's the delta is ridiculously slow, and he obviously just trying to time it right. Yeah, that's a shame for Leroy.
Yeah, Leroy's best finishing position was currently in P10, but he's swimming all over the place now. But that 3 second well, that drive-through penalty, that's put an effect on his mind now, probably affected his driving too, as when people pick up penalties,
Yeah.
their driving changes because they don't have that confidence anymore. So Leroy, they will have to side with his drive-through penalty and put Julian up into P5. But Julian, what a great drive from the Aston Martin driver too. Not mentioning much of him as I would have liked to, but he's done a great job, phenomenal job. He's not really been in majority of battles in that big DRS train we had in the dry period then. So he's done a great job in P6 as Sweet Khan and George Russell continue their fight there for P1 as they've done throughout the whole season. They're dropping Leo. Oh, Leo, they almost lost it. Could have turn 4. He had a massive
Yeah, I
wheel
saw
spin.
that. That was very well held from Leo. In these conditions, especially that corner is very nicely held.
I think Jeroen's had a problem down at the last corner. It looks like he's stopped. Oh, he's gone over the curb. So hopefully it doesn't cause a deliberate safety car. Oh, George has picked up a 3-second time penalty then.
No. All Sweet Crown has to do now, he doesn't even have to attempt to make a move on George Russell, providing, of course, the penalty is not removable. Because, of course, sometimes when battling side by side, you can accidentally put a wheel too wide while trying to avoid the car, and that is a removable penalty. But however, going off on your own, you will not be able to remove that, which is hopefully for George's case, it's him going side by side with someone earlier on and getting a warning via that. But yeah, if it's not, then it's looking like this will go Sweet Crown's way.
Like in Australia, where Sweet Crown was putting pressure on Nathan, and Nathan picked up a 3-second time penalty with Sweet Crown having nod to his name, inevitably won him the race. So it's the same occasion then, but with 9 laps to go in the rain, Sweet Crown himself can still pick up that 3-second time penalty. He was squirming all over the place before turn number 6 there, so he can be very careful himself not to lose the car in these conditions. But QVR Gary has overtaken Posh Evans then, up the inside and around the outside too. What a great lunge. I don't know how QVR Gary did that, with Posh Evans making a mistake or not coming out of turn number 7 there. Maybe had a huge amount of oversteer and therefore Gary was able to get past him into turn number 7. But great lunge. Gary himself has had a great race so far.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a spot where you'd usually see overtaking, but in these wet conditions, like I said, you can. He did very well to hold it there, Gary, into that hairpin. But no, like I said, in these wet conditions, you can overtake in places where you wouldn't usually in these dry conditions due to drivers making mistakes and it naturally being a lot slower into the corners.
Leo's fighting first of the season there, currently hunted down by Issa Kush, but Issa Kush himself has got a 3-second time penalty. Jeroen there continue
a yellow flag.
to go
it's Jeroen again, unfortunately. Yeah, he's having an absolute nightmare here.
Yeah, both Red Bulls
I've been there myself with what Jeroen's going through right now. It's like a walk of shame after you've spun multiple times. It's I'm sure at this point now he's just going to be having fun. Yeah, he's spun again.
Yeah, as long as you don't cause a deliberate safety car, then Nathan,
yeah,
however, in the Williams has gone onto the wet compound tyres then. So could the weather be that treacherous for the wet conditions, for the wet tyres to be used at this stage? So let's see if anybody else opts to go on those wet conditions there. Rain looks like it's worsening, but from my point of view,
it does look heavy. I mean, Nathan at this stage of the race, out of the points. After that unfortunate spin that he's had, he's got nothing to lose. So, we'll just see how this works for him.
Let's see if it pays dividends for him later on in this race as well, as Russell there continuously being hounded by Sweet Crown. Look at that, Leo has picked up a penalty himself now. So Issa Kush has got a 6-second penalty. So I was about to say Leo and Issa Kush were level pegging, but now Issa Kush has picked up another penalty. So Leo relieved of the pressure again. But bearing in mind though, Julian might gain 4th place because he's 5.8 behind. Can he gain any more time to snatch P4 away, I wonder?
Josh has also come into the pits for the wets here. Is this track starting to get worse, Jamie?
It looks like it. The rain continuously pouring down on this circuit as two drivers now on the wet conditions. As Giroud Visser goes for another spin right in front of George Russell there. As let's see if anybody else makes a pit stop. These guys have got a lot to lose being at the front. And Nathan picks up a 3-second penalty. I noticed he was gaining a little bit of time on Cross Liam as well. So are the wet tyres in favour now in this race? We're about to find out if any of these drivers will they risk it on the wet compound tyres, considering there's only about a few laps to go in this race, so they've got all to lose and all to play for here. Who is willing to make that big risk? Will they just follow each other, I wonder?
At this stage in the race, we're going to start seeing some risks happen. I mean, we've got 7 racing laps left of this race, and yeah, I mean, it's all to play for really. The top 4, they're all separated by just about a second and a half or 2 seconds, it looks like. So really, with the rain, anything can happen here. And of course, Sweet Crown is the only driver in this train right now to not have a penalty. So providing he keeps this on track now, is looking very good for him. And also for Julian as well, providing I can see he's been overtaken by Gary, but if Gary's able to slingshot him along into this packet, we could see a surprise podium from Julian.
Like we saw from Kato, our surprise podium after all those penalties started to come into play on the finish line. But it also could be changed dramatically if a safety car does appear in this race as well. 14 runners left in this race after those guys are gone now. Bompier being the first to retire on the first lap due to contact at this corner where Yuli is right now, as he was overtaken, like you said, by QVR Gary then. So the pressure is on between all these drivers, and Sweet Crown, most important for him is not to get a 3-second time penalty like he did in Qatar, which also cost him. In fact, the pit stop itself cost him when he pitted and fell to the back of the grid. Russell will be hoping that Sweet Crown picks up that 3-second time penalty. It's so easy to do so. That's why Sweet Crown hasn't got much pressure now, but he needs to keep up the road himself to make sure he doesn't get that 3-second time penalty. So let's see if he can do that for the next 5 laps in this race. As we head on to lap 30 out of 35, the weather, well, I think it's just a crossover point between the inters and wets. I've not seen a huge change in terms of the wets and the inters. We're seeing 2 people on the wet tyres as Nathan's gaining on Liam, and Ewan has left the session there, so hopefully next race will be stronger for him. I hope for his sake as well, because we know how quick he could be on his good day, especially winning at the Japanese Grand Prix 2 ahead of Sweet Crown and Relentless Nathan, who is now George Russell in the Mercedes.
Yeah, just as a confirmation, by the way, Jamie, this track is now full wet. I'm watching Josh here. He is catching Luke at a rate of knots on those wet compound tyres. And of course, Luke's on those 10-lap old intermediates, and yeah, we can see this rain is completely chucking it down now as well. So it's a matter of, are these drivers on the inters going to be able to keep it on the track as the track continues to worsen?
These guys are the inters, if they want to go to the end, it's all about survival. And talk about survival, looks like Chihuahua's going for a spin there, but bearing in mind that we suspect that he might have rear wing damage, but he's still continuing this race despite all the problems he's had. So massive respect there for Chihuahua not giving up and retiring the pit lane. So he's still continuing, hoping that something comes out of this. But for now it's P11, but you never know if a late safety car could appear as well. And also with that rear wing damage, a Haas has gone for a spin in the same spot.
Yeah, I mean, this track is difficult enough in the dry, let alone the wet, especially when you're on the inters when it is full wet tyres. So a lot of low traction zones and very easy to accidentally dip a wheel. Well, dip the throttle too far down and spin the rear tyres.
Oh no, Leo has lost his wing. A potential podium is gone now, unfortunately for the Williams. A virtual safety car has appeared. Somebody else made an overtake on another drive. I'm not quite sure who it was. Posh Evans on Leroy? I don't know. But anyways, Leo unfortunately has dropped the car, lost his wing, and gave Isaac Kush a potential podium now in P3 then. So the 2 guys who started in last place or at the back of the field are now in P2 and P3. What an incredible race from Sweet Crown and Isaac Kush.
Yeah, I mean, this right now this could be anybody's race for the podium here. I mean, like I said, we've got Julian as well here in P6. Now, let's not count him out. Leo's going to have to box for a new front wing. And the two cars ahead of him both have 6-second time penalties, Jamie. And he doesn't have a penalty.
Oh yeah, Gary and Isakush then, so Julian could find himself in P4. Let's see if he can stay there. Gary has got 9 seconds now, as Leo's in the pits to change that wing, so off into the pits he goes, and that's a shame there for Leo after having a great race so far here in Canada. It's all fell apart now. I talked about survival, it's all about survival to the end. Keep the car on the track. Obviously these guys at the front don't go on the wets and risk it all and losing a lot of positions, as let's see then. Well, it's going to be a battle now between Sweet Crown and Russell towards the end, but I think Sweet Crown, if he doesn't have a 3-second penalty, might have this in the bag, so he's got to keep it clean from here on in, as Russell will be hoping that Sweet Crown picks up that 3-second penalty. Julian in a great place. We've got a Haas respond.
Yep, it looks... I can't quite tell who that was. That was Reservoir, yes, at the back. It's unfortunate for him. 23 seconds back. Going back to this lead train here, George Russell, he's pulled out a second to Sweet Crown behind. I mean, he's got 3 laps left to try and pull 2 seconds gap. Is he going to be able to do that, Jamie?
It's going to be quite difficult because Russell will have to push so hard and risk getting more penalties as well, trying to push ahead against Sweet Crown. 2 seconds is a lot of time to try and make up, so I think it's just a case of hoping that Sweet Crown makes either a mistake or get that penalty himself, because it's going to be very hard to pull out a 2-second gap, especially when you're even on pace almost, or you never know, because the gaps keep dipping in like under a second and over a second. Like, I noticed Sweet Crown had a moment coming out of turn number 8 which cost him a bit of time, and I bet these guys are nervous now because a yellow flag keeps appearing on the circuit. They wish that a safety car doesn't come out, because if it does...
it's the Haas at the back. Oh, he was very nearly in the wall there. And Leroy is out of the race, Jamie.
Oh, Leroy, why you done that? You're in the top 10, man, ahead of Cross Liam by 9 seconds, and you could have scored some points as well, so yeah, I don't know why you've done that. And he is out of the Grand Prix with 13 left here in Canada, and majority dipping out like flies now with the rain impacting the circuit. Yellow flags appear to be everywhere, but now they've cleared away. I don't think there'll be no chance for a safety car now. No safety cars. Yeah, we had one safety car in this race. That's when I went to the toilet.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a safety car and a few virtuals, it looks like, but yeah, Josh has also... He's also eager to make a position up here on Leroy coming into the final hairpin. These wet compound tyres are starting to make the difference here. It's looking very nice for Josh.
It is indeed. How much time can he gain on those wet compound tyres before the end of the race? He's putting huge pressure on Leo in PA, who's just came out of the pit lane to put on a brand new set of inters, so that could give us a good reference there between the inters and the wets, especially with... Oh, look at that, Leo scraping the wall coming out the final 2 corners. But Sweet Crown is putting pressure on George Russell, immense pressure on the Mercedes ahead of us there, and Sweet Crown's been very careful not to make a mistake himself. Looks like Sweet Crown was struggling a few laps earlier, just struggling with traction out of some corners, but he's all over the back of George once again then, as George there continues to lead this race. Unfortunately with that 3-second penalty, I think that warning as well where he picked up going side by side with Leroy would definitely cost him in this race as well, because he had to go off the track. There was no room to go side by side through the final 2 corners, so he'll be hoping that he'll be wishing that he never picked up. That Sweet Crown's going to go down the inside. It's the hairpin. What a late move there. So let's see who gets better traction then. Will Nathan get a decent exit coming out of the hairpin with the outside line? Yes, he does then. But this is going to be a drag race now all the way to the final 2 corners. Sweet Crown, he's risking it all. Will George Russell try and edge him off the track a little bit to pick him up a penalty as we head down into the hairpin? Then Sweet Crown, they make contact, and he might go off the track here. Yes, he does go off the track. They both go off the track. And look at Isaac Kush. He takes the lead of the race. AP1. Then a Sweet Crown gets ahead as George Russell after they were both squeezed against the wall there off the track together. But now Isaac Kush is leading this race. Wow.
I have no words for what I've just seen there, Jamie. That is absolute chaos. But yeah, it looks like Sweet Crown was going for the move there and just he got run out of room on the outside going into the chicane. But Yeah, trying to go around the outside of the chicane in general, it's very tricky to leave space. Such a high speed corner, and yeah, just that worked out for Izza there. But unfortunately, the 6 second time penalty, unless he can get those removed, it's going to drop him down out of the winning position here.
I thought George would go down the inside of Sweetcrown into turn number 8. He was close enough, but decided to back out of it. That could be his last chance, you know, because Sweetcrown's pulling away now with the ERS. So as we head down into the hairpin, Sweetcrown... Oh, Russell there almost hit the back of Sweetcrown. But as we head down on the straight there for the final time in this race there, that dramatic moment on the penultimate lap, might have cost Sweetcrown if he got a penalty, but it didn't do so. So he was safe on that. They're all running out of ERS on this straight then. But as we head towards the final two corners of this race then, with Isak Kush in P1, Sweetcrown will finish in P1 when they cross the line. Here comes Isak Kush to take P1, but Sweetcrown from the back of the grid will finish in P1 ahead of George Russell with Isak Kush in P3. QVR Nathan, what a phenomenal drive from him. In P4, I meant QVR Gary, sorry. Julian in P4, due to that 6 second penalty. Smalley Balls takes P5, and so does Leo with P6. So Gary lost 3 places in the end. Luke will finish in P8. I think he was another driver who started at the back of the field too. Posh Evans P9 ahead of Cross Liam in P10. What a disastrous race there from Cross Liam. Nathan in P11. Chihuahua suffering with potential rear wing damage, staying in this race, sliding throughout the corners, will finish in P12 and Reservoir a lap down, lost his wing, and will finish in P13. No, he's not a lap down, sorry. Yes, he is actually, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was that race was definitely something. Like I said at the start of this stream, Canada is a track full of chaos. Oh, Chihuahua's lost his wing on the final straight. And he's going to finish the race in reverse because he is a Chihuahua. He is the realest of Chihuahuas.
Russell must be absolutely fuming because he starts our pole, finished in P2, so he lost 1 position. But what a change there for Sweetcrown. Starts in P17 and finishes in P1. Driver of the day goes towards Isak Kush there. And yeah, Russell will not be happy with that whatsoever. He's leading the championship, by the way, but the championship gap will be brought down now. And I'm not quite sure what it will be because I'm not really that great at maths. Plus, I don't know the deficit either between P1 and P2. I should know, been in this league for a long time. But yeah, P17 to P1 just speaks words for itself, especially there in Canada.
Yeah, that's a drive and a half. I mean, this is the track to do it as well. I mean, it was 2011 where Jenson Button also did this insane comeback drive in the mixed conditions race. Like, we could literally say that Sweetcrown's done the exact same today.
So yeah, from last of the grid as well. Isak Kush actually started P19 and finished in P3, so we started further back, but still that's a great result.
Yeah, great drive.
I thought Isak would have a podium due to those 6 second penalties, but he's done a great job himself. So yeah, happy for the 3 there. With Russell in P2, he wished that he never went side by side, or he wished he never outbroke himself going side by side with Leroy in the final corner, because he definitely cut the curb and had to take avoided action. Otherwise, those two would have came into contact. So looking back at that moment, I think Russell lost that race in P2. But yeah, what a great drive from Sweetcrown. Medium tyres looks like it was the way to go because the rain just hit in time for the mediums then. So that possibly was the way to go for Sweetcrown. Had the grip in those intermediates as well at that stage, where the track was getting damper and damper, and Sweetcrown's tyres were in good shape. So was QVR Gary in P7 as well, and Luke from started P18 to P8. So what great positions he's made up also in that race. But what a great race in general. We'll see some major moments down at the final corner between like Jeroen, Leroy, Nathan himself twice with the Jeroen, or 3 times with Jeroen, Leroy and Sweetcrown too. So Nathan's had some moments down at the final 2 corners himself.
Yeah, I mean, this is where it gets interesting in the championship now. I mean, there's all to play for. What's the track we've got next week?
I'll give you guys a quick look. If I could find a calendar, sorry.
Just looking myself now as well.
So many Discord server channels in this server. It is Barcelona in Spain.
Okay, you will likely be seeing me racing rather than commentating there.
Well, I don't mind seeing you both in either. So whatever you do, I hope you're here at least.
Yep, of
Well,
course I will be.
but unfortunately, I will not be doing the podium interviews tonight. I'll do them next week onwards, I promise. But a lot of things have happened today, so I just want to call it a break from here. I got home very, very late. I haven't had time to settle down either and eat my dinner either. So hopefully, it's understandable to you
Oh,
all
of
that I
course.
won't be doing podium interviews. But one last word, Kyle. Thank you so much for joining the commentary box. It's been very fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, likewise. It's been a different experience for me, commentating rather than racing. First time I can say I've ever done that. It's a different experience, but yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries, mate. And we'll round it off here then. So enjoy the Monza Grand Prix this weekend, and I think it'll be a massive surprise for us if to see Verstappen winning again.
Wow, definitely going to be the case.
But yeah, join me back for Tier 4 at the Barcelona Grand Prix next week on Monday at 7 o'clock. And join me back for Tier 1. Whoever my co-com's in, this is the 5th different co-com I've had in the commentary box. So I'm getting through them all.
Yeah, definitely.
But join me back for Tier 1 this time next week. Hopefully with no delays this time. And look, shout out to Bompia. Look, he stood in the session, so he retired on the first lap and had to stay throughout the whole race. But why couldn't we get him in comms?
Respect, yeah, respect that.
Could have been the Ted Kravitz of our stream. He had the information though, didn't he, with the weather radar? So he could have told us about the
Yeah,
rain.
of course, of course. You could have been telling us the strategies and it stops everything.
Yeah, he was the host, so obviously he couldn't leave due to the game bugs still around. So
Yeah,
thank you for tuning in, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed that race, and we'll see you all next time for Cone in Tier 1 and Tier 4 Monday and Thursday for the Spanish Grand Prix. And the Spanish Grand Prix always is a thriller around here with the safety cars as well as great strategies and great races side by side too. So I can't wait to see you all then. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the Italian Grand Prix, and it'll be a goodbye from now. That's if I'm still alive, if I don't crash in karting.
right. Take care, all.